What's good, everyone? This is your boy Livewire Sports and Entertainment, and we back with another episode of Big Dogs on Campus. And you know, I have my man to I guess to the left of me, um, Eagles Elite, Mr. Cool. What's going on with you this morning, brother?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Nothing much.
Living, ready to talk some college football.
Oh yeah, man. So it's a lot we gotta go through this morning. But to start the show off, whether anybody knows or not, um, is about game day at Jackson State University today. They play Southern, and I think this is the first time that game day has been at a HBU, school.
HBCU.
HBCU, yeah.
Yep.
I always leave the C out for some reason.
Now you good. I went to one. I went to A&T, so very
Oh, that's
familiar.
what's up. That's what's up. So, hey, tell me, I mean, since you went there, what how you feel this will like propel the schools, make it have a great look. I know, with Dion there, so it has to be a huge plus.
Yeah, man. I think it's an exciting time um to be on or be part of an HBCU, right? You have a guy like Dion who's
Mhm.
came in, brought a whole lot of notoriety, a lot of publicity, a lot of eyes, to HBCUs. Um, I'm hoping that more former, players of color take that same lead from him and
Mhm.
start to go to some of these schools and help these schools have the name and the notoriety. Because it's not necessarily, that Dion may be the best coach out there at this point. I mean, he's a solid coach, but what he brings you is a symbol of solid staff around you,
Mhm.
and you allow yourself to help that school grow. He has the funds where he can say, you know what, man, take my salary and make the facilities better. You know, there's things he can bring to the program, a swag, notoriety, focus
Mhm.
that other people can also bring that are former players as well. So that's something that I'm excited that he's bringing there, and hopefully that it'll be something that matriculates to other HBCUs and helps put them on the map. And having a game day at a HBCU, man, that's like a blockbuster thing. That's something that was never even thought of 10 years ago.
Oh
So to
yeah.
have that happening, man, that's just a whole level of excitement, man. I'm so excited for Jackson State and for HBCUs in general to start getting that notoriety to even be on ESPN on game day. So that's man, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard it, um, somebody at work had told me. I said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah," because I did remember them talking about it later in the year, but I didn't know if they had nailed it down or nothing. And somebody said at work, at my job, said, "Well, you know what? A lot of people, a lot of the big schools gonna be mad." I said, "Well, game day is always at these same schools all the time. If it's a
Hmm.
big marquee matchup." And they was talking about why they can't be at Penn State, Ohio State. I said, "Well, to me, Penn State is not that good. And then why would you be at game day for a game that most likely it's going to get blown out?"
Yeah.
Um, I think Key was trying to come in. Hold
Well, like I was
on.
saying,
Oh, okay.
man,
I see what she did.
you know,
Um,
oh, go ahead, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. My
oh,
bad.
I thought she was trying to come in, but she was doing something. So I got what she was doing. But the thing about it is that most of the time, this to me, with the Eddie Robinson situation, um, him and Dion a few weeks back, you know, I understand, where Eddie Robinson come from, but at the same time, you got to think, y'all are two phenomenal black men in this program, at these schools, going at each other. Y'all should do more, embrace each other. Whether if you feel Dion is swag or what he brings there, but you gotta look where y'all was before Dion even got there. You know what I'm saying? So, and Dion, I followed Dion's career. Even when he was on NFL Network talking and stuff like that, he he is for people. You know what I'm saying? He trying to get the best out of people. And his, when he talks, he always has like a message. Now Dion always been flamboyant. You always know he's been that kind of guy playing in football. So I think this is a great thing. I think you probably will see game day back again, probably next year. If this goes, I won't say if, I think it will go well. And I just want to see success for these schools and have more notoriety because look what he's doing in recruiting. He's beating out some of the top colleges for some of these athletes and stuff like that. So that's another thing that they have to think about what Dion is, his personality. All these big schools trying to get him to come there now.
Yeah.
But Dion is, he's not gonna just leave if he feel like a job is not undone where he's at. So, like I said, it's great. I'm glad to see it. You know, I think the game starts at 1 o'clock today, and it's going to be on um, JSU Sports Network. Pregame show begins at noon, and then I think it's going to be on 95.5 FM in Jackson. So Sirius XM, if you have Sirius XM, catch it on XM channel 384 and Sirius XM online channel 974 from that point on, and then you could catch it. I think it's going to be also ESPN 3 too. So there you have it. But I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's doing big things. Keep doing what you're doing, DR, and everything else. Now, going to some of the main games today. I was talking about that Penn State and that Ohio State game. I think that game slates off at 12:30. If I'm not mistaken, it slates off at 12:30. Me personally, I don't think that that game has a lot of fire because Manny Diaz came from us. When he went over there to coach the defense for Penn State, and after I told people just give it a minute. Once they play a big team, you'll see the real Manny Diaz defense. And lo and behold,
Unfortunately, yeah.
Michigan exposed them.
Yeah, Manny, typical of a lot of people that's been through Miami, as well as other colleges.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot simpler to beat up on the schools you should beat. It's a lot simpler to scheme for schools who don't have the same level of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Who don't have the players, who don't have the offensive coordinator to make changes and adapt to what you're doing.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, once you get to the point where you're doing those things, some of these guys, and Manny's one of them, they just don't seem to do as well. Now, I hope Manny turns it around. But like you said, last week he didn't. So this is a week for him to try to turn it around. But how confident can you be based on the history? You got to kind of use that when you're thinking about what's going to happen next.
Yeah. So
And if you can't stop Ohio State defensively, we already know what it is. They're not number two for no reason.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna bode well for him today. I'm just, I mean, I do want him to do well.
Right.
He did all he could for Miami. Us as fans, we gave him a hard time. So
Always.
always, so yeah. Um, another another ACC slated game today is North Carolina and Pitt. Now I think that's the game I was kind of like looking forward to when Pitt is 4-3, North Carolina is 5-1.
Hmm.
Now if Pitt win, I mean no, North Carolina is 6-1. So Pitt
Yes.
win, they only be a game back. But I don't feel like the only way they could catch North Carolina if North Carolina lose another game from there out depends on who they play or what their schedule look like from this point on. Because pretty much North Carolina look like they gonna have the coastal wrap up, and probably most likely end up playing Clemson in the ACC championship game. I mean, because we got like what 3 or 4 games left for the season over.
Yeah. Um, for the conference, and I'm a conference guy. Like I'm a Miami guy first, but I'm a conference guy. I understand. Just like the SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, all those conferences.
Hmm.
The thing is, you want to have as many teams, ranked as highly as possible. So Pittsburgh winning, maybe they slide barely back into the top 25.
Hmm.
North Carolina wins, they probably move up to 18, 19, right, which gives us another solid team in the ACC, an opponent for Clemson possibly to be ranked. Because at the end of the day, man, let's be honest, North Carolina's not going to beat Clemson unless they come out with an amazing game plan and Clemson falls flat on their face and DJ Uiagalelei decides not to play.
Yeah.
But coming back to the present, like you want ranked teams. You want to have as many ranked teams as possible in your conference. Want UNC to stay ranked, they have to win this game to stay ranked.
Hmm.
Point blank. NC State handled their business against Virginia Tech barely, but they handled their business
Yeah.
against Virginia Tech Thursday. 22-21. They're 24th. They're probably going to move up a spot or two. So we get another team, solidified in. We're good. Syracuse is 16. So if we can keep some of these teams moving in the right direction as far as trending upward, then we can, kind of try to shape that thought that the ACC is a weak football conference. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not the strongest. We're not going to try to pretend it's not, but it's a good, solid football conference, and a lot of teams are building. So, for me, I want UNC to win for that purpose. I don't have a dog in the fight, but that's why I would like for UNC, and I hope that they do win this game against Pitt.
Let me ask you a question
Sure.
before I dive into any more of the more games. Now, as well as myself, you know that there's been so much talk about college realignment with a lot of the teams, and they was a lot of teams in the ACC been targeted. Miami been kept left out of the conversation. Their name got mentioned here and there, but with college realignment, like I watch a lot of videos and I always report, sometime on college realignment. Like there's one guy that I follow, Golden Blue Dude. He lives here in Pickens County in
Mhm.
South Carolina, but they keep saying, well, the ACC is going to dissolve. They're going to get poached, and people don't realize ESPN owns the media rights to SEC and the ACC. The ESPN is not going to allow the ACC to get poached by another conference, and they lose all the money that they have because they put a lot of money into the ACC network. Now, the only way that happens, they allow them to get out of their grant of rights, which 18s have to vote to get out of the grant of rights. And ESPN could redo the contract to allow the ACC to bring teams in. You know, so my my question to you is: do you ever see the ACC disbanding or teams like North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State them leaving to the SEC?
So here's the thing that people need to realize, and that's a good question. The ACC is in a contract that runs through 2036.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like you said, ESPN owns that contract. So for me, I think expansion is the way for the ACC to go. West Virginia is a team I would like for the ACC to go after, and also staying within that Southern thing and new and upcoming Appalachian State.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two teams I think the ACC could add that would add viewers, add excitement, and help to kind of stay the number one team in the region. Because you think about now, you got Wake Forest, and this is just in North Carolina. You got Wake Forest, you got UNC, you got Duke. You know what I'm saying? So you have teams right there, yeah, in NC State, excuse me. So yeah, so you've got four teams already in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Think about South Carolina, you got Clemson. So a lot of people look at it as like one area. So you add Appalachian State to that. That's a team that's up and coming in football. Obviously, need work to do on the basketball and some of the other sports. But if you're solid in football and you're in a conference that's as good as the ACC in basketball, you're going to start to get recruits, as teams like Wake Forest and Georgia Tech, who are not very good teams, have historically been, but always get really good players because of the conference they're in. So I
Mm-hmm.
think you want to look at those two as teams that you'd want to add. You can also look at some other, schools along the way too, but those are two that kind of fit what the ACC is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Most of the schools are good, really good at basketball, or have been at some point. You had a few that's good at football, but these are two schools from smaller conferences that could step up and play an ACC schedule and be confident in it. Also, I think you have to find a way to incorporate Notre Dame's deal in and them still get the money that they need to get. You
Mm-hmm.
need Notre Dame in as well. You've got Notre Dame in every other sport. You need to get them in football, get their buy-in. They can't sign with anybody else. The same problem. They're in that contract, so they can't not leave. Their other sports cannot leave until 2036. So that's what people need to understand as well. So when people are talking about, oh, Notre Dame go here, Notre Dame go there, if Notre Dame is going to join a conference, it's going to have to be the ACC. That's the way their deal is set up. All their other sports again are ACC. So we can get Notre Dame in, get those two in. Then the fourth team, we're going to need a wild card in. It's obviously going to have to be somebody from a smaller conference because we're not going to get somebody probably from the other top five conferences. So that's what I think needs to happen. Actually, I'll leave the last spot for you. Maybe somebody you think could join the ACC and help in all sports, especially football, because we'd have to bring in, if we do the two I want and then Notre Dame, we'd have to bring in another team to even it out.
See, I'm glad I asked you that question because you laid out a point that I didn't even realize. I know about the 2036, but
Hmm.
I didn't know Notre Dame was locked in other sports until
Yes, sir.
2036 because, and they have to join a conference. So that's why, because it made sense. Everybody said, well, Notre Dame, and Big Ten, the Big Ten is waiting for Notre Dame to make a decision. I'm like, well, they can't make a decision if, and now it makes sense if they locked in to a
Hmm.
contract in other sports. Yeah, and if they say if they was to join the Big Ten, they can't pull none of their sports over because it's locked in for years. So why Notre Dame will even entertain that now? And I kept saying that it makes the money, and I kept saying that the Big Ten probably ain't gonna pay Notre Dame what they asking for. The ACC and ESPN could just work out a deal with Notre Dame and say, hey, we pay you X amount of dollars. You come over full time football. You still get to have your contract with NBC, and we just balance out games from here to there, whatever. Because you already playing teams in the ACC, even though you already playing teams in the Big Ten, but you still have because you think about it, you could get if you get West Virginia in, Notre Dame in, and say one of Notre Dame rivals wanted to leave the Pac-10 or whatever the case would be. I always said Pittsburgh made sense for the ACC too.
Hmm.
Not Pittsburgh, not Penn State. I always said Penn State made
That could be interesting.
they made sense to come there because you got to think Penn State has an uphill climb through the Big Ten with Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, even Iowa, and Michigan State. And say that Penn State was to come down there, to the ACC, you could renew rivalries with Notre Dame. You could renew rivalries with Miami. You know what I'm saying? You could even get more. Then you can have that rivalry with Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was one team that kind of like made more sense to me. But I don't see Penn State leaving unless they decided, it's something different for them. And then I thought about Stanford too, but traveling from West Coast to East Coast every year, could be a little harder. Um, there was another team for the Big 12. They was talking about some. They was talking about Baylor, but I don't see Baylor doing that. But Houston makes more sense to me out of the Big 12 if they decide to want to do it. Even though they are leaving the AAC to go to the Big 12, for next year. But the most realistic team to me is Penn State. That would be the most ideal team to come to the ACC if it was any other team. Because I think with Notre Dame, because cliche, they could entice a team like Penn State to come over.
I'll tell you another school that I've talked about before, And because football is a big money sport, they may be interested in doing it. And that's UConn. UConn's a good basketball school. They're in the
Mm-hmm.
Big East, but I don't think it would cost them a lot to get out of the current iteration of the Big East. And they're independent in football, so they could
Mm,
bring their football program as well as their other sports over to the ACC. That would, I mean, they're not a great football school, but they're a solid football school, and they fit what the ACC would want: a team with a rich basketball history
mm-hmm.
and a solid football program that, in the right place could flourish. And the thing with them too is, and the thing with even some of the ones you named as well, you get some more teams in, you can go back to the ACC, I mean to the ESPN and say, hey, we got the ACC network, we got games on. We've now added, West Virginia. Let's say they do Penn State. We've now added Notre Dame in football. Maybe UConn. Maybe Appalachian State. Like, you made
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6 schools. You start adding schools that have a fan base, schools that are going to enhance the conference.
Yeah.
You
And
can go
see
to
the
ESPN and get more money.
oh yeah, definitely you can. And that I mean, honestly, that UConn thing does make sense because of UConn basketball.
Hmm.
Because the ACC is a proud basketball
Hmm.
conference, and you got teams like you got your Duke, you got your North Carolina in there. Then you got Miami that plays good, from time to time. Then Florida State. Then you got Notre Dame, and then you bring a UConn in there. That with UConn basketball always been great, and then they women's team over there also to bring up more. Just think about how UConn women's basketball team will fit into the ACC, and because they always be good every year. So that conference will vibe a whole lot more. But the one key thing about it is Jim Phillips. Jim Phillips need to get off his cane and start looking and seeing how um, the commissioner for the Big Ten was aggressive and went out and got USC and UCLA. Now, the situation with UCLA is still pending because they try not to let UCLA. But still, the SEC went out for Texas and Oklahoma. You got to be aggressive because you can't wait for years and decide. If they had voted on a college playoff a year ago, then the ACC probably would have been in a whole lot better shape, and Jim Phillips could have made some of those negotiations. But when you have a commissioner that's just so stuck in his ways, then it makes it hard for other team, for people that want to come in because West Virginia been wanting to come to the ACC for a long, long time, and
Right.
I
So why
just
not
don't.
now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why not pull them in where you could just revive the conference? You're already doing away with the divisions, but and I can't I don't even know what that kind of format that they're doing now for next year. That just don't even make sense to me. So, because if you brought 4 teams in, you could break the conferences down into like a group of 4 or 5, whatever, however you do it, and then whoever went out of there, you could just have like a mini playoff system, and then the 2 winners play for the ACC championship. You know what I'm saying, and move forward. So it's so many ways that they could have sat back and did this without trying to rush to end divisions so fast. So that's my thing. But Jim Phillips, I think me personally, I think he need to go. I think he need to step down. Somebody need to come and take over. That's very more innovative and see
Yeah.
everything. So I think that's the thing. That's why him and Kovalkov in the Pac-10, they around here scrambling, trying to figure out what they gonna do. So because you got the Big 12 that's still looking to get teams from the Pac-12 right now. You know what I'm saying? Whether they do or not is remain to be seen. So I just don't want the ACC to fall by the wayside and all of that. They got to keep up. They got to stay somewhat irrelevant a little bit. I still they think they right now. I think they're the third best conference still, no matter what. Um, behind the Big Ten, but they gotta step up and start adding some schools, especially if they want to keep their basketball and academic and stuff like that. Football is already solidified, so we just got to add a little bit more to the basketball program.
Yeah, I mean, you want to try to continue to bring in teams that at least have a respectable football because the thing is, um, we do need to get better as a program overall. Well, as a conference, the programs need to get better at football. We need to have more than one team that's in contention for a national championship. Right now, in the offseason, you talk about Clemson. After Clemson, we're not talking about anybody else in the conference even having a shot at a national
Hmm.
championship. So, truthfully, 2, 3 years from now, if we can't improve that, that hurts Clemson. And
Hmm.
that's why I want those other teams like North Carolina's ranked now, NC State, have a good season. Win out. One of y'all win the conference and have that last, championship battle. So I think we've known for years that the Atlantic Conference and the Coastal Conference are imbalanced.
Hmm.
So rather than realign, because I think the commissioners are a little lazy,
Hmm.
you just say we're going to combine. But I think if you bring in 4, 5, 6 teams, that's when you have to resplit, right? Because
Hmm.
now you have to say, okay, we got to figure out how to deal with the imbalance. We got to figure out how to make things more equal.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the SEC. They have one division that's stronger than the other. Every once in a while, somebody from the other side does well, but for the most part, the division that Georgia and
Alabama.
Alabama are in. I don't know why they lost my mind. Everybody talks about them all day, all the time. Their division is normally the strongest one. So I like the fact that we get away with it based on how weak we've been up until this point.
Hmm.
I think you look at it 3, 4 years down when the college playoffs start. In a couple of years, we get some other things happening. I think you can revisit maybe splitting the conferences if other teams step up. But if they're not going to step up, you have to have the second best team play Clemson to get Clemson into the national championship picture.
Hmm.
So honestly, you made this move to help Clemson not be pissed because Clemson's tired of playing some podunk team from the other side that
Hmm.
may or may not be ranked. This way, the
Yeah.
second best team in the ACC they're playing, which should at least be ranked. So that helps their argument, to get where they need to get to. So I think that's why it was done. Um, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it was the lazy way out rather than just realigning the conferences to say, okay, we know Clemson's the best, but who do we feel like is consistently the next best? Right? Let's kind of split this thing up. Let's kind of even it out. And that's what eventually is going to need to happen. But I think it depends on if we do go out and get teams like we should, who we bring in,
Yeah.
and what their football aptitude is.
And that's why I kept saying that Notre Dame need to, they
God,
should
yes,
come.
yes,
They need to come to the ACC because with this playoff system, they could. I don't care about the independency. They if they not playing well, or they could be on the backside looking in also,
yeah,
because Notre Dame, just like Miami and Clemson, all these teams, they want to stay relevant. They want to be in the playoff
yeah,
picture. But if you're not playing well, and yeah, you got this big TV deal with NBC, but nobody's tuning in because you're not playing well, then what that says about you? You have to make some kind of decision just to come in and say, hey, let's get back in, try to pull other teams in. you know right now West Virginia doesn't, I mean, they're not having a great year. They 3-4 right now, and then today they go up against a TCU team that's undefeated. So if like I said, Jim, like we just talked, Jim Phillips has taken the lazy way. He hasn't really stepped up as a commissioner should. If you switch places with him and the guy from um the Big Ten, I guarantee you we probably don't have about 6 teams in our division. I mean, in our conference right now, because you can't stay passive aggressive and think that everything is moving fast around you, and you gotta be quick to the draw, and make sure the ball bounces your way. So it's gonna be interesting but time, because right now I know they're pushing for the playoff to start in 2024. They looking to try to see if they could do it sooner than that. I don't see it happening in 2023, but I think 2024 is the most likely target for them, and that's when you really gonna see. You're gonna hear more realignment talk. You gonna see people gonna be so much aggressive to try to get a lot of teams in their conference just to stay, stay water relevant. But you're only gonna have about a handful of teams that's going on that is really going to make it into the playoff system. So I mean, you can have six more teams, but you're gonna only probably have about two out of each conference, two or three out of each conference that make it.
Yeah.
So so also I know we we was going over some games, and one game that does come on early today at 12:30 is the Georgia and Florida game. Now, I know they said I heard them on the radio. They was talking about Florida. They most likely because South Carolina they might have a chance to beat Florida or stay some kind of relevant because they 5-2. They beat Texas A&M, but if they do beat a Missouri, they go 6-2. So that's a pretty bounce back season because South Carolina didn't look good. Um, I think Florida comes to Georgia. So I mean, and Georgia is like a 23-point favorite in that game.
Not surprised.
Yeah,
Not surprised. I mean, Georgia, you know, you can feel how you want about Georgia. That's a dominant team. They lost a lot of players to the NFL. I expected them to be a little, I guess, a little affected by that. But truthfully speaking, man, they really haven't been. I mean, it's a testament to the talent and the coaching that they're still, they're still looking real solid, and that's impressive. It's going to be
yeah,
hard to beat a team like that. And, I don't think there's many teams that can do it.
yeah. I don't see me personally. I don't see Georgia losing the game.
Definitely not to
I'm
Florida.
not to Florida. Now when they play Tennessee, I think that's going to be probably the biggest test this
Yeah,
year.
that will be because Tennessee's if Tennessee beats Kentucky today and continues on where they're going,
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee will be dangerous.
Yeah, I think Tennessee shows they very explosive, very
Oh yeah,
very explosive, and I mean Georgia defense definitely going to have to stay disciplined because Jalen Hyatt is he's like the top receiver in the game right now. I mean the performance he put on against Florida, then the week after, I mean not Florida but Alabama that week, and he's like a one man army. If you don't have great coverage to really solidify, take him out the game because he it's like his run after the catch is so dangerous. I mean, I have not seen a wide receiver. Now, Alabama had Mitchie and Jameson back there last year, but nothing like that. Nothing like what I'm seeing today with Hyatt because like he's so shifty. And once he get that space and he catches the ball, he's pulling away from you so fast.
yeah,
He's like he gets behind your secondary so quick, and there's nothing you could do. You either marvel or just be disgusted. Like, how do we put a body on this guy? I mean, like he really single handedly just took down Alabama by himself because Alabama they had no answer for him. And Georgia, when Georgia plays them, Georgia definitely going to have to really look into like some kind of different kind of coverage because man on man is not gonna work on him. It
yeah,
definitely won't work on him.
yeah. When you see him by himself, you got to do like Mystical's video back in the day. Danger.
Get out, yeah, get on the field somewhere, boy.
Hmm.
Because I remember watching when I watching Jahan Dotson last year. Now Jahan
Yeah,
Dotson doesn't have that explosive speed like Hyatt, but when Jahan played against Ohio State last year, he wrecked them by himself too. Now I don't know if I can't remember if Penn State won the game or not, but they had Olave and Wilson over there, and Olave and Wilson didn't do as much damage to Penn State than Jahan did to them, and that's why I was telling. I said sometimes you got, if you have two great receivers, you got to figure out which one is better than other, especially when you picking in an NFL draft. You
Yeah.
got to figure out which one is better. But if you look at receiver performances through the game, and one receiver dominates a team better than two-headed monster, then you say, okay, you know what? Because last year in the draft you had Wilson, Olave, Jameson, and then you had um other guys, and I was like, Jahan made sense, and I kept telling people, I said, y'all need to go back and watch Jahan's tapes. I said what he did at Penn State. I said he didn't have a second guy. It was pretty much all him doing everything. And I say the dude was phenomenal. So that's why I say like Georgia. I mean Georgia really gonna have a handful with Tennessee. I'm telling you. And I honestly I picked that as an upset game when it came when it comes down to it. I picked
Okay.
Tennessee because I think they the most dangerous team in the SEC right now, and I feel like I said, like you were saying this a few minutes ago, if they get past Kentucky, it's going to be like that. And if they beat Georgia, and because Alabama is not safe over there either, because LSU starting to look a little strong now.
Yeah.
You
And then
know.
too, with Tennessee, it all revolves around Hendon Hooker.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing about Hooker, I have a lot of family that lives like in the Greensboro area
Mm-hmm.
where he went to high school at.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them about him, and apparently he has been a monster since middle school.
Wow.
Yeah, so he has been like progressively getting better, but he was, the same type of player, just lower skill,
Mm-hmm.
since middle school. Like he just exploded one day, and things have just been coming together slowly but surely for him. So he's a
Mm-hmm.
dangerous guy too. And
Yeah.
definitely look out for him on that Heisman watch because they love quarterbacks, and
Yeah.
Hooker's a good versatile guy. And that's
I,
the thing that is getting big now is the guy who not necessarily is a run first guy,
mm-hmm.
but a guy who has that dual threat. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you think about some of the best NFL quarterbacks right now. I'm gonna start. You see what's on my head. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
start Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, go to like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He's another one of those dual threat guys. You can even go Pat Mahomes to an
Pat.
extent because
Yeah.
he'll run. When needed. Even a guy like Heineken. He'll get
Mm-hmm.
out there and move around, get some first downs when he's needed.
Yeah.
Heck, you even got dudes like um my man in New York, Danny Dimes,
Yeah. Danny Dimes. Yeah.
or as my boy Wise likes to call him, Danny Nichols.
Yeah.
But you got the mobile guys, the guys who not necessarily maybe have the same ability to run as like, and of course we never want to forget Lamar in the conversation, or it's just disrespectful and not valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those guys, um, they're the next wave. I feel like, and like I said, it doesn't have to be run first then pass. It can be a good mixture, or just guys that you have to say we have to spy.
Yeah.
If I have to spy you every play, or if I have to always account for you, that takes another defender away from either going all the way to the box or either being back on defense. That's got to just take their time and try to spy you. You want to have a quarterback that can do that, and that's, I believe, the next wave of very successful NFL and college quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree because the fact of the matter is that man, you look at the quarterbacks that you name, and this is where I I go back to my conversation with this guy named Nick. He is a Clemson fan.
Hmm.
So me and him had this little healthy debate yesterday, and we kept saying he said he was talking about Miami. I said, well, he said I seen y'all little recruit. I said little recruit. I said they ain't no little recruit. I said that dude is number 2 in the nation and the number 1 cornerback in the state of Florida. So that's not little. I said y'all couldn't get him. I was like, so, and I said Florida mad at us because we got him. Alabama mad, you know what I'm saying, because we got him. I said they ain't little. That's major right there. I said, and that put us number 8 nationally in recruiting. And I told him, I said, he was talking about his quarterback room. I said, well, Miami quarterback room is just as deep. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, our quarterback room is deep. I said, rather the Taliban like stays or goes. You know what I'm saying? Our quarterback room is deep. And I said, there's gonna be quarterback competition next year. I said, because Jake there, Ja'Cory Brown there,
Hmm.
I say, and they expected Ja'Cory Brown to take the lead next year, and I say he's a dual threat. I say, and I think that's something that Mario he looking for because he had it in Oregon, and if he gets that guy, now the knock on Ja'Cory is that his accuracy, but the dude high school stats is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So
That's
you
what
know,
he should be working on, right?
yeah,
Developing it passing.
yeah. So I think that them dual threat quarterbacks, you're gonna see more and more of them. You're gonna see a lot more of them, and I think Hooker is. I'm telling you, if Hooker they beat, I don't see them having no setback against Kentucky, but that's gonna be a tough game. If they beat Kentucky and they get past Georgia, you best believe his name is going to be in the Heisman because he's going through a gauntlet. He don't beat Alabama once, and then he knock off another number one, and then if his stats propel to where it needs to be, there's no way in the world that this guy should not be in the Heisman conversation with Bryce Young and all of them, or Caleb and all of them guys. It shouldn't. I mean, because he probably going to do something that probably no other quarterback has done. Constant knock off teams. Now the toughest task is going to come. If he does knock off Georgia out of the SEC title game, and they go to the SEC title game, they could end up playing LSU, a team that's sneaky good. They getting hot at the right time. Also, or a rematch with Alabama. That's going to be the tail of the tape right there. But this is what I just said this. I say Tennessee could be that other second team from the SEC that gets in the college playoffs.
Please
You
don't leave your
know,
bags unattended.
um,
Unattended status
and
transfers
rather
your
if they
belongings. They
don't,
have to be
if
removed
Georgia
and
beats them
searched.
and they
In
make
order
it,
to ensure
Georgia wins
everyone's
the SEC
safety, your
championship.
cooperation is
I
appreciated.
still say
We
Tennessee
want
gets
you
in.
to be safe.
I still see them getting in with one loss because they already beat Alabama. That you can't. There is no because and then Alabama will have probably a second loss if they play Georgia or whatever the case might be. So Tennessee has they in the right position at the right time. So it remains to be seen with them. So, but that Kentucky started off good. I mean, they lost 2 games, but they still have a good record. They 5-2. Um, I mean, I think they right there. So a lot of teams in their division has a pretty decent, good record and everything like that. Um, and then we already talked about the Pitt and North Carolina game. And then we went over. I didn't even know there was 3 games on Thursday night because I was so wrapped up in that NFL game with Tom Brady looking very I don't know what to call it, man. They already lost. I forgot who they lost for the season over there, but yeah, I'll cover that tomorrow. And then Utah they won. They're doing pretty good as well. So the next game that I do want to cover is I want to cover Cincinnati UCF. I really that's Cincinnati is quietly in the top 20, but they don't. Even though they don't look like they don't have the same squad they had from last year, but
Very true.
they 6-1. They 6-1 quietly. They've been they play UCF that's 5-2. I've been trying to because usually I try to catch some of them games just to see what the teams look like and everything like that. So um and I ain't really I like Finkel as a coach in Cincinnati. I mean, for him to lose his quarterback and one of his defensive guys and some other pieces, I mean, the comeback to still be able to be 6-1 in the top 20 is good because I mean it's hard for them to climb up because a lot of teams playing so well right now. There's so
Hmm.
many teams in the top 25 that's playing well. Um, I think that game comes on ESPN2 at 12:30. So that's gonna be an interesting game with them and the UCF because UCF is only they 5-2 and they playing pretty good. And both of them teams will be in the Big 12 um, next year. So that's gonna pose a lot of healthy competition to the likes of Oklahoma State and TCU over there.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's one of those teams that's going to always be the argument for the expansion of the playoffs and why it was important. They're never going to be unless they're undefeated, in that top four. But you expand that out and you allow more teams, then you allow teams that are playing well and consistently climb to have a shot, right? Because we know when we do this, the quote unquote top five should all have a team in once it expands. Then the rest of the teams, you can look at independence and different things, but if you're a team that's an independent, you're going to have a better shot being the number two team in a conference than just being a straight out independent.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to build your schedules, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, and just go out and start scheduling people for this year. Like you can't schedule people for 2022 and 2022. So you got to kind of, get things done earlier. So when you're in a conference, you have a chance to at least play most of the better teams.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be very important for teams to do it. And a team like Cincinnati, you're not in, one of the majors right now, but hey, you know, people should be looking at Cincinnati and saying, hey man, what's up?
Yeah.
You want to move?
I mean, they did it last year.
Yeah.
They did it
It's
last
one of
year.
those things, man. Like
Yeah.
you have to look at the teams that are playing well and say, all right, I'm out here trying to make moves. I understand they're probably not going to play well forever, but while the iron is hot, strike on those teams. Cincinnati's one of those as well.
Yeah.
You got to get it. But yeah, they're always for the last few years. I would say they may not have been in contention for playoffs because you lose like two. If Cincinnati loses another game, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But even so, they're still playing really well. They're going to probably be favored in whatever bowl game they play in, even if they don't make the playoffs, even if they lose another game. So that's the
Yeah.
thing too. It's a lot more that goes into college football than most people think about. It's not just the numbers. It's not just the wins and the losses. It's who you lose to. It's
Mm-hmm.
who you win against. It's how much you win because there's a human element. This is not just numbers thrown into a computer to be hits. This is a group of humans that's making these decisions.
Yeah.
So whenever you add a human element, we're sitting here talking about rankings now. These rankings aren't going to matter after the first uh, college football playoff rankings come. You could be
Right.
15 now. The college football playoffs had you 20. You're in trouble. You could be 5 now. College football has you at number 1. That's all that really matters.
Yeah. Because
So I'm
what?
excited
Because what?
about that too.
Next week is the 10th week of college football season. Don't the BCS come out that week?
Let me check and see what that.
I think they come out around the 10th. I believe it's the 10th weekend.
Look and see when it says what day for that. Yeah, they'll start week 10. You're right.
Yeah. I had a
Yeah, so
feeling,
next week they'll be out.
and it's gonna be looking. Cause I'm waiting to see what they have Alabama, even though Alabama ranked 6.
Man,
That
Alabama gonna be in that top 4.
that would be so
Everybody can stop
disrespectful.
playing. Alabama gonna be in that top 4.
I know it's gonna be Georgia, Ohio State, and I know it'd be crazy because if Clemson get in there and Tennessee, there's no way. Now I think Clemson will be on the outside of that BCS because you could have all three of the SEC teams, Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee round out the top four, and
Good.
Ohio State be the only one. But then again, you know what you do with Michigan, because Michigan is ranked at, what they are they ranked ahead of Alabama. See, that's the thing. That's why I don't like the BCS, man. I'd rather just have the
Man, anytime you have this college football playoff record things that we have, right, you're allowing humans, like I said, to be part of it. So there's a bias. Alabama's been good for a long time. They're going to put Alabama in that top 4 or 5. I do think Clemson's probably the team to get screwed
mm-hmm.
on the initial rankings, but that's no biggie because where you want to be on the initial ranking is 8 or above. If you could be 8 or above on the initial ranking, you're good because they're gonna double rank some SEC teams. They're gonna sort themselves out because they got to play an SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
The best 2 teams in the SEC, more than likely, or 2 of the best 3 teams, are going to play in the SEC championship game, and they're going to eliminate one of themselves from contention. Um,
Yeah,
then you look at like the ACC, Clemson's undefeated, a couple close games, but you cannot knock an undefeated team. You let an undefeated Cincinnati team in last year, so
yeah,
you can't not let an undefeated Clemson team in this year. Clemson has just got to handle their business. They win the ACC, they go undefeated. They're going to get a spot in the final ranking.
yeah.
I think too, we worry too much about that first ranking week 10.
Mm-hmm.
That 4 is never the 4 at the end.
Yeah.
That first ranking is basically to tell you this is where you're seeing for what you've done so far this year. What's up, Big A Cobb? Hope you're feeling better, brother. See you back next week.
What's going on, A?
But yeah,
Um,
that's the thing. The first ranking is just this is where we see you as of now through the games you've played so far up until this point. Now it's your
yeah,
time to say, all right, let me go undefeated. Obviously, Alabama can't say that. So happy to be
no,
able to say that they can't say that. But you just go handle your business. You do that,
I,
and you let the chips fall where they may. You undefeated, it's going to be hard for them to keep you out unless there's 4 better undefeated teams out there, and I don't see
yeah,
that happen.
yeah. That's why I say I think when it's all said and done, Clemson, regardless of what their schedule look like or how they've been playing, they go undefeated. They definitely gonna get in. I still say that what happens between Michigan and Ohio State is gonna be close because one of them will be a one loss team.
Hmm.
Um, you regardless what happens with Georgia and Tennessee, but I don't. I mean, because it could shake out so many different ways. You could have probably Ohio State, Michigan. Depends on how close the game is. Remember that year in the BCS, how close Michigan and Ohio State had played, and they turned around and put them ranked them right close to each other again, and they end up playing each other again, and the outcome was totally different.
Hmm.
Um, and I like, and I think it's gonna be one of them tough decisions because you're gonna have a one loss team from either conference, Big Ten or the SEC is going to either get in, and you can probably have 2 undefeated teams. If Clemson goes undefeated, that's undeniable. You have to put them in. If they
Hmm.
don't put them in, Dabo Sweeney is going to scream to the high heavens. He might even take that rock from Dawg on the field and take it and smash it on somebody. So, but I do believe that um, I still say that 2 teams for the SEC is going to get in, and I think it's going to be Georgia and Tennessee. Depends on how Tennessee finishes. If Tennessee finishes the way I think they finishes, you could have Clemson, and you might end up having Oklahoma or Ohio State. Now, a lot of people kept saying they think Michigan is going to get Ohio State again this year. They playing that well that they could, because Ohio State has some games where they didn't look. Yeah, they relying on Marvin Harrison Jr. To do all their work, but they do got a good running game. But
Hmm.
if that was to happen, and Michigan gets back in the BCS, and this is hypothetical. I'm just throwing hypothetical out there. Then
Yep.
you have Michigan, Ohio, Michigan, Clemson, possibly Tennessee and Georgia. That's to me. I think that's a good mix right there. And then you might end up having you could have Ohio State and Alabama match up in the New Year's Six Bowl if that was to happen. That still be a great thing. So that's what I how I picture it. But like you say, once you get down there, it could be a whole total different ball game. You know,
Hmm.
because we all know in football, when you get down to them the last part of the season, things get tight. Teams stop getting nervous, and you got your execution gonna have to be even a little bit stronger than it was in the beginning of the season when you play these teams. And then if you had to play the team for the second time, you know how you gotta definitely stay in your end game because look what Alabama did to Georgia in the
Yeah.
SEC championship game last year. And um Anthony Price said Michigan had a moment last year. They not beat Ohio State this year again. Well, we have to see.
We
I,
definitely have to see.
we have to see because I think they can. I really think Michigan. I think Harbaugh finally. So if he beats them second year, then we'll come back and revisit this question. Um, But like I was saying, when Alabama and Michigan played in the championship game, no, Michigan and Georgia played it. Oh gosh, Alabama and Georgia played in the championship game. Georgia played a whole totally different game than they played the first time, and they just went
Hmm.
after them.
Hmm.
Now it sucks that Jameson got hurt in that game, but it's what it is. You can't control injuries.
No, you can't.
Still gotta go out there and play the game.
That end of the season, those rematches in the playoffs, those bowl games, that's what matters. The other
Yeah.
stuff is just to get you to the point to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think you're going to have the same game against a team twice, you're sadly mistaken,
Yeah.
and you're in a bad situation for yourself.
Yeah, I do believe that because even in NFL it's hard to beat a team two times, let alone three times when you see them in the playoffs.
Hmm.
It's not done that often.
As the 49ers, they own the Rams, but they got them in the playoffs, and the Rams got them.
Yeah, and that's what counts the most.
Hmm.
So um now uh I guess I'm gonna go to some Big 12 talk. Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Um, Oklahoma State is what 6-1. K State is 5-2. My college pick on that is Oklahoma State because I think they looking for that matchup against TCU. I think if they not played already. Let me double check. Um, yeah, they played TCU. TCU beat them a couple weeks back. So uh, and let me check their standing. Because if TCU is still playing the way they playing, well, they don't even have like a yeah, they don't even have like a they don't have no conference championship. So TCU wins outright, they win the conference, and that's another. And that we go back to that because what do you do with a TCU that's undefeated and went outright?
Yeah, that's a tricky thing too. But see, the thing with this game today is very important between Oklahoma State and Kansas State because TCU is the only team that doesn't have a win. So let's say that Kansas State wins. That essentially makes Oklahoma State 3 games back because they'll have a head-to-head loss.
Mm-hmm.
So Oklahoma State is really in a must-win game. I mean, we're saying it early in the season, but this is a must-win game for Oklahoma State. They lose
Mm-hmm.
this game, they go to 6-2. TCU runs away with this. If they win, they at least can keep themselves in the conversation with
Mm-hmm.
TCU. So I think Oklahoma State has every bit of motivation to win. But on the opposite side, Kansas State, who is another elite from the conference, they
Mm-hmm.
have all the motivation to make Oklahoma State sit down there with them because there's nothing you can do with TCU.
Mm-hmm.
TCU is right now is handling everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're Oklahoma State, you're Kansas State for different reasons. You really want to win this game. I feel like
Yeah.
Oklahoma State has the better team, offensively, defensively, special teams combined. So I feel like they should win the game. But I think a close, hard battle, for who's going to try to be the number 2 team and still have a little bit of say so in the Big 12.
Yeah.
This is a very pivotal game.
I do agree. I do agree. And then um because I feel like, you know, Oklahoma State gotta stay they gotta stay on par. They definitely
Hmm.
gotta stay on par because there's no way in the world that, you know, they take another loss and then try to catch TCU because TCU right now, all they got to do is finish strong. They just got to finish strong, and then they are right their own ship, and that's gonna be another conference um, topic for another day. And then you look at the Pac-12. Everybody thought Oregon was dead in the water after that Georgia game, and now they sitting 6-1 also. You know, so I mean, I don't know what leverage they gonna have to get in the college playoff. You know, if this was a 12-team playoff, then yeah, they'll get in with no worries. But having that one damaging loss to Georgia at the beginning of the season, but they did beat Utah, they did beat all the other teams, so it's going to remain to be seen with that team also. Because they right now they play California today. That's 3-4, but I don't see them beating no Oregon at all. So, but
Yeah,
most,
important thing about Oregon: 6 game win streak, 4-0 in the conference. If Oregon cleans up their conference completely, they don't lose another game, so they win all their games in a row with that one loss at the beginning of the season
mm-hmm,
against Georgia, who is going to probably be the number 1 team. How much can you really fault that Oregon team?
yeah,
You know, how much can you really fault? How much can you say, oh, we're going to keep them out of the playoffs because they lost to Georgia at the beginning of the season? You know,
yeah,
and that's the good thing about it. We talk about all the time losing early is a benefit, losing late kills you.
mm-hmm,
Oregon lost week 1. You can't lose any earlier than that
yeah,
to a really good team. So if that's the only loss they have, I, mean, I think they make a good argument for a slot. And they may knock out, maybe a SEC team.
mm-hmm, yeah. That's true. I mean, that's why I said this. That's why now they scrambling because you got all these teams that potentially are playoff teams. You know,
Yeah,
regardless if you think they ain't better than some of these teams, they playoff teams. They going out, they handle their business, they winning their division, they winning their conference, and they keeping themselves relevant in the conversation. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You stay
yeah,
relevant in the conversation, you know, and like you said, you know, losing early is a benefit, losing late kills you. And the thing about it is, you don't want to get killed at the end of the season.
you guys definitely don't. And shout out to Bo Nix because
Yeah,
without
man.
Bo Nix, you ain't talking about Oregon, right?
Yep.
They have to run their stuff through the defense. Bo Nix just got to be smart. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that there's no hangover from that big win last week because they beat Chip Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they just got to attack, the other team's defense and keep their skill players in check. Those are the things that they need to do. They do those things. Oregon's going to be looking good this week. They should be able to do those things. Keep marching. Me, man, I love to see the other teams in. You know what I'm saying? I love you have the certain people that you're talking about every year. Georgia's new to the phrase, so I'm not even talking about Georgia. I'm talking about like Alabama. You always see Clemson. Certain people you
Mm-hmm.
always see. So for me, I'm excited when you get a different group. You get new
Mm-hmm.
people in. That means that there's new blood in there. That means that we're getting past the whole same old crap every year. So I'm tired of seeing the
Yeah.
same matchups. Show me something different. Even if it doesn't go well, show me something different. Make me want to
Yeah.
watch again.
I agree. Cause that's why I rooted so hard last year for Cincinnati. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, I was a Cincinnati Bearcat, and even though I like Desmond Ritter because I think to me, he was the best quarterback in the draft. I do like Sam Howell, but I just felt like, my team should have picked Desmond Ritter, but he was a Falcons, so it's what it is. But Cincinnati, they did what they needed to do last year, and I rooted it. I rooted for them. I was like, man, let this team in, regardless of what happens. They got the worst matchup of all. Alabama. I think if they had matched up with Michigan somehow, probably would have been a little bit closer. But you got Alabama the first draw. That but hey, you got in. That's all that matters. You got in the playoffs. So parity is. I'm always rooting for the underdog, no matter what. Always want to see the difference. I got tired of seeing Alabama every year. I get tired of seeing Clemson. I was glad they had a down year last year, that they wasn't even in the conversation. Um, and just something different, something fresh. The site college football, because people will say, "Well, we don't want to see this," and they always talk about TV ratings and stuff like that. But you don't know what the TV rating is going to be if you get a great matchup and a great series, a great game. So sometimes it's best to have that parity in there, because remember years ago when Alabama got upset by a Utah team, you know, um, Boise State upset of Oklahoma. That was college football at its finest right there, because you had that parity, that them underdogs where you didn't least expect that they beat these teams, and they kind of like made a name for themselves. So that's what I like. Me personally, if I had to pick my top four to be in there, and I had to say, I shoot, that's what I would have. I would have somebody like a Tennessee or Oregon or TCU or somebody else in there just to see the difference. How these teams would match up. TCU always been good. They always have a good team here and there. But I think this year it could be a totally different thing for them to get in. They could be the Cincinnati of last year. So
Yeah, and man, and it's gonna be exciting. I love that first ranking. That's very important because it kind of lets me see if what we've been seeing all along is legitimate, or if this committee is going to go a whole nother route, which they have done for multiple years with certain
mhm.
teams. So I'm just looking to see where people are at, because like I said, you in that 8 to 10, the top 8 to 10 from this first ranking, that's a sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Once you get outside of that 10, unless you have a big defining win, it's hard to climb from 11, 12, 13 all the way into their top four.
Mm-hmm.
But you honestly got to lose pretty much to get out of their top four if you're in the original top four.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, uh, uh, I know. I guess I want to dive into this Missouri and South Carolina game. Surprisingly, South Carolina is 5-2. I didn't really expect them to be at that point because of Spencer Rattler. He has not really played well this season after transferring from Oklahoma. Missouri, I don't know. They haven't been doing good. They 3-4, but they got South Carolina almost a 4-point favorite in that game. I do. I mean, it's a chance that South Carolina could beat them, but they say Oregon has a really, really good defense. But I mean, you can have a really good defense, but at the same time, it doesn't add up to the win column.
Yeah, you make a good point. Defense does win games, but you have to score as well. You have to, the defense, the way that they help you win the game is they help you basically um, not be outscored, right?
Yeah,
Especially in college, we don't see many like real blowouts unless it's a large um, gap or huge deviation between the teams. We don't see a lot of blowouts in college. We may
yeah,
see what we consider like an NFL blowout, but it's really trying to press at the end of the game, trying to make a play that you necessarily don't need to make. But as far as like the games itself, we don't see a lot of that. South Carolina, they in the top 25, and it's sad that you 5-2 and you're just ranked 25th, right? At least in the
mm-hmm.
poll. So that's a little interesting um, from my thought process. Just the fact that even though you only have two losses, that's where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri's got a lot of talent. It just hasn't gelled, together as of yet. So that's something they're still working on there. There may be a year-long process. When you look at South Carolina, though, you just see a team that's on the rise.
Yeah,
You know, 4 straight dubs. They got their top 25. Now you don't want to give it back. So you got to go out there, and these are the games you have to win. The difference between teams like this and our Miami Hurricanes is winning these games. If you
mm-hmm.
lose this game, you're just another Miami. And I hate to say it because I love Miami, but the truth is the truth.
Yeah,
This is what we do. Now, are you going to do the same thing, or are you going to reverse it and say, you know what, we got to go out there and take care of business? There's a team that has talent that can beat us, but we're the better team and we should win.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and prove it.
Yep. Because like they went out and proved against Texas A&M. Now you got another challenge. You got to go out and prove it again.
Hmm.
And each week you got to prove, because you got to look where your program been at for the last few years, and you're like, hey, we've been there, but we haven't we put talent on the field, but we could never get it the way we need to get it. Now this year we able to and granted, I commend South Carolina for getting a quarterback. Spencer Rattler, the transfer there. To put some of, but some people say the quarterback behind him is better. So I don't know, but it's what it is. But if you go out and beat a Missouri team and you're 6-2 and you're ranked top 25, then that could move you up probably 2 more spots to 23, 22. Who knows? Depends on how everything shake out today. Um, but to me, I think it's like you mentioned, like Miami. I think it's time for South Carolina to start, being, I mean, they've been the second best team in the state for a long time behind Clemson, but at least stop being somewhat relevant again. Having some of these great games, like you used to have had great games against South Carolina and Georgia. That used to always be a must see. But now that Georgia became such a juggernaut, some of them games don't even look appealing anymore. So you got to really go out there and show what you got, and play the games that's there. Because like South Carolina beat Kentucky, that's a good team. They went out there, beat Kentucky, then they turn around the next week and beat Texas A&M. So that's darn good. You beat two top 10 teams back to back. So
Hmm.
that's something good right there. Then they got Missouri, and then they got Vanderbilt, then they got Florida, and then that Tennessee game is going to be a tough one. So and then they close out with Clemson. Now, hey, depends on what South Carolina record is. Hey, I might root for them to beat Clemson if they can. They probably, I mean, they get all the confidence they need. They could probably maybe this year South Carolina might do something that we probably haven't expected to do, and that's to beat Clemson. That might be the team that put South Carolina out. I mean Clemson out of the playoff conversation. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that would be something. But I think the whole state of South Carolina will go crazy if they beat Clemson. They won't even care about nothing. And this is like when I was talking to the guy on my show last week about Miami, and I say, regardless of where Miami's schedule goes from here on out, if they beat Florida State, that 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 means more. I think that would mean more because you beat your in-state rival, in regardless how the season may go. So hey, if they beat Florida State, I'm happy. Revenge that loss from last year.
They're keeping it real, man. I mean, we're not playing great right now, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, we won some games, but we had a debilitating loss. Sorry about that, y'all. We had a debilitating loss that's going to be hard to recover from. But at the end
Well,
of the
yeah.
day, what we can do, like you said, only thing we got left is beat Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all we got left, man. So, like you said, we're not winning the ACC now. We've got one of the worst losses I can remember in program history. It
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. Now is that time. Go out there and beat Florida State. That's all we got left to fight for.
I'm sitting here looking at the ACC standings. Um, Man, Clemson undefeated, but you got an NC State overall record is 6-2, Wake 6-1, Syracuse 6-1. When was and Florida State 4-3, Louisville 4-3, and BC 2-5. I don't know, poor BC. That is crazy because I would never think that in Syracuse, NC State, and Wake all had a chance to beat Clemson. All had a chance to beat Clemson. Wake came the closest out of all of them.
Yeah.
And then you got North Carolina, Georgia Tech, Duke, Pitt, Miami, Virginia, and Virginia Tech to round out the division. That's crazy. So, I mean, that just shows where where things are at. Um, me personally, I just think that Clemson they always gonna be the pillar to overcome, and that's why I keep telling people. I say, when you play a team like that, you can't allow yourself to score a couple points here and take the lead and think it's gonna be safe. You gotta go for the knockout blow. You gotta knock teams out. You can't sit there and say, okay, let's kill time, run the clock down just to save. Because if they defense is starting to play well and you ain't moving the ball and you ain't picking up the first downs, you ain't not eating up your clock, then you have to punt. Then all you doing is giving this team enough opportunities to get a score on you and take the lead. And then guess what? The momentum's in their favor, and then they already know that you don't switch your game plan. You're not playing the same way, and then you could either go 3-and-out again, and by that time, if they put another score on the board, or the game is pretty much over. You gotta go for a knockout blow with these teams. You can't allow them to hang around and just continue to rack
Agreed.
up wins against you. Because if you want to be a great team or a really good team, knock out your conference players. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the SEC continues to beat up on each other from here and there, because that's what they do. Look, Tennessee came out of nowhere this year. Look at Ole Miss; they only lost one game. You know what I'm saying? Look what LSU looked like. They turned their season around. We didn't thought they was gonna be what it was, and look where they at right now. So and so that's how it is. So, but yeah, I mean, I agree. But today's college football slate has some pretty good games. You got USC or Arizona. You know, you got Michigan State. Michigan is
Hmm.
undefeated. That could be a trap game for them that they don't watch, because Michigan State does play Michigan very, very well in that game. So that's a tough. I mean, it could be a tough game, but Michigan, they got them as a 23, like I said, 23-point favorite in that game. So I don't know. Michigan State hasn't, Ken Walker left, so they ain't really, you know, and they might want to
Hmm.
tell Ken Walker come back for this game right here. So, but unless that I mean, that's a rivalry game, so they're gonna get after each other. But
Yep.
so, we went over to Tennessee, Kentucky. That's another game, but I mean, I just don't see Tennessee having a lapse in that game. I don't
Yeah.
see it.
I don't see it, but you just want to be, want to be careful not to. Now, for me, a interesting game is Stanford and UCLA.
Mm,
UCLA should be pissed. They should be ready to go out there and dominate Stanford. We'll see if
yeah,
they can, but they should be pissed.
because actually they had everything in the driver's seat for them,
Hmm.
and they lost to Oregon.
Hmm.
Um,
Should be extra motivation.
what's surprising is Illinois 6-1.
Yeah, that is not a team you would expect to be 6-1. That is true.
I, I was
There's been a
I'm look.
couple of them, college and pro, this season.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasant surprises, right? Teams that just haven't been able to do it for a while, and now they're kind of getting it done. So love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, I this is not related to college football, but I keep I don't the NFC East, man, is one of the surprising divisions in football right now. Don't you know if the Giants got a tough game with Seattle. I forgot who Dallas played. I forgot who y'all played too.
Dallas is on bye. I think we play the Steelers.
Well, yeah. So y'all play the Steelers. Giants play Seattle. We play Indy. If if Washington goes four, if they win and they be 4-4,
Actually,
they
let
be
me
at
make
500.
sure. Let me make sure this is it this week. The Dallas is on bye or next week?
I think they play. I don't know. I think
No, they
they
play.
might.
They play the Bears. I'm tripping. Their bye is next week.
That's. I mean, the way the Bears play, Dallas can't sleep against them. You know what I'm
No, but
saying?
it's a good chance that uh, everybody in the division can get a win again.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If everybody in the division get a win, don't you know there's a chance the history could be made this year if say if Washington gets it together and put some wins together, regardless if it's against their division or not, but the wins that they could put together, there's a chance that all four teams can make the playoffs.
Four horsemen of the playoffs. But you know what?
Man, people say about I don't know.
We know this
I,
is a college show, but we big dogs. And big dogs talk about, the next level a little bit too.
yeah, that's why I kept saying it. I said, dude, I keep telling people, I said, Washington right now, by beating Green Bay, Tampa lost. If the Rams was to lose and Washington win, Washington technically lead right now will be the seventh seed if the playoffs was in. If Washington was to go out and win tomorrow and say that the Rams lose out. You know, the Rams play the 49ers, so that, I think the 49ers going to have a little bit extra because the fact of the matter is um, they they know they should have played a little bit better against Kansas City last week. So we'll see. And if I'm gonna be root for the 49ers on that one. So if they beat the Rams and Washington win, that just puts a little bit now. But yeah, that's I think that would be something special, man. I don't think that ever been done in football history. And so hey, thank you football committee and NFL for adding three more wild cards. So yeah, but unless that, man, do you got anything on tap for the day for college, pro, whatever?
Miami, do something. Just do something.
Speaking of Miami, I think
Just do
Tyler Van
something.
Dyke's playing today
I hope so.
because
Just do something.
I read something just before I even got on here, and I was like, is he playing today? Because they kept saying it was a hopeful. Yes, Xavier is back today.
What?
Xavier Strepel is back.
Yes, sir. About time.
Ooh. Yep.
Just do something though,
Um.
Miami. Just do something. That's my thing. Just do something.
Yeah, he's back today. Ooh, That's what I was hoping for, Xavier, because I knew he was 2 weeks away. Because Jacoby came back. Jacoby George came back last week, and I say as Zeppo comes back, our wide receiver core will be full strength.
Yes, and we've been needing that.
Yep, man. Now depends on Van Dyke plays today, and even if he doesn't play, it should be good for Jake Garcia to have all them wide receivers there. It
Yeah, because
should,
that's been a big issue. Sure.
yeah. So if they have all of them guys there, that's gonna be oh my gosh. Now that's what I was hoping for because I say if we get full, because I think our offensive lineman we should be back full strength by the time we play. We're completely at full strength by the time we play Florida State. So we be at full strength playing the Florida State. I feel really really good going in that game. So yeah, all right, all right. The X Man is back.
Boy, make a
The
big difference.
the X Man is back. I like
People
that.
think, how you so excited over one receiver, bro? You just don't understand.
I know.
Yeah,
And
y'all ain't seen what we've been doing at receiver. It's not been pretty at all.
because the only one with beast in is Kobe Young, boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a man. That's a man beyond boys. That boy, he catch it. When he catch it, he makes sure he catches it. Shoot,
Yeah.
the big body guy. There. I know I'll be on Bleacher Report, and they be showing all I think 5 or 6 of our guys in the NFL that's really really doing well. You know, Philip Dorsett, he been in the league for a minute, but he's still
Mm-hmm.
playing at a high level, and everything like that. Braxton Burrows, he's still playing. Catching. That's who Xavier reminds me of so much.
It does, yeah.
He reminds me so much of Braxton. So yeah, man.
Bigger
See,
version.
oh yeah. So Zeppo the X-Men back now, we could get some of them crossing route patterns, them short intermediate passes that we've been lacking, because we kind of like hurt, Keyshawn,
The timing can be down too.
yeah, because especially they were trying to do it some a little bit with the other Smith is back too.
Okay.
He's playing today too. He's back too. See, all our wide receivers is back.
Bet.
So, I want to see a errors like just
You want to see an air raid?
air raid. I want to see them boys. Everybody start catching passes today, just killing them. So, because we really need a really good offensive output. I know the running game hasn't been what it is, but just to have all them guys back at receiver, I just want to see us go out there and just put pressure on the defense and make them. Now they got defense has got to count for everybody. They can't count for just a few guys here and there. They got to count for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And now you could just because now and then if Jake's starting and teams can't, they have to worry about covering the pass a lot. That opens up the run game a little bit more, and it helps Jake could scramble a little bit more. So that, and then they still throw packages with Ja'Cory Brown out there. So this could be a game that we get to see something special. Hopefully, we definitely got to, because if Jake started, he has to have a better game than he had last week. Boy, I ain't gonna lie. I felt like the Sandman from Showtime at the Apollo, boy. I wanted to go out there and dance and grab him so fast with that hook. I'm like, bro, yeah, so because he started out so good in the second half, I was like, oh my god, yeah, we about to do this. I don't know what happened from that point. I was like,
And he was like, "Psych, we not."
I know, like
Crazy.
Simon says, nope. So yeah, man. But I know you at the port right now. You about to go see your Eagles fly and
Oh yeah,
everything today.
tomorrow it's about to be on.
So yeah, I'll be on 10:30 with Chase Doom and getting everything locked and loaded for tomorrow. So and then I'm gonna keep my phone on tap for everything throughout the day. So I'll throw out some little highlights and stuff like that. Man, I ain't
Yes, sir.
dude. After we talked last night, I ain't getting no sleep, bro. I was trying to keep up with the baseball game, trying to keep up with the Bulls game. I did a video for them. I was trying to do another video. I was like, man, I need some sleep, boy. I was sleeping so good because my alarm went off at 7:00, no, 6:00, and I snoozed it. I said, well, I'm gonna time myself. Man, I woke up. I said, oh snap! I'm like, let me get up. So I text Key. I said, hey, go ahead, set me up. I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
Let's go.
I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's roll. She said, don't
Big
worry.
dogs. Gotta handle it.
Yeah, she said, don't worry. I got you. I like, all right, cool. So yeah, man. But unless that, so I guess nobody's else coming on for the next 30 minutes or so. So I guess we're gonna probably close out the show for the morning.
All right then, man.
So
Hey,
yeah.
we got on. We made it happen. Appreciate
yeah.
everybody that watched. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Sports Empire Network. You can catch your boy a lot of places, but the one place that you're gonna catch me next is gonna be Thursday on pregame, Pigskin Pregaming. I forgot the exact name of the show. My bad, Gene. But I think it's Pregame and Pigskin or Pigskin Pregaming. It's one or the other. But you'll see me on there Thursday because these boys is playing. Got to talk about that.
Yeah, y'all is playing Thursday night then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so I'll be tuned in on that because that's what I don't have to work Friday, so I stay up late on that one.
I got to work Friday. I will still be up late.
That's my 4-day weekend there. So yeah, I was off last Thursday. But yeah, matter of fact, that information we was talking about last night, I'll get it over to you today, later today, sometime today, and I'll be working on that other program, for that the one we talked about. So can't let y'all know too much about what's going on behind the scenes.
I don't want y'all to understand,
ladies and gents, but some great things about to be popping up.
Yeah, I want y'all to understand is this is a Sports Empire Network. We're not playing games.
Yeah.
Pay
The
attention
quote
and listen.
sports empire. That's right. Like the
We got to
Empire
build an
State
empire.
Building. You know what I'm saying? We about that. We about that growth, baby. So come one, come all, and join the new movement in sports. So hey, we're here for it. And like Cool say, you can catch us here at Sports Empire. You know, you catch me here on the weekends, holding it down for everybody, and give my my 2 cents in the sports. And then you also you can check me out Monday through Wednesdays, for other shows. So therefore, just stay tuned. Everything is coming together. But enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy some college football. If you're gonna cook out, cook out. If you're not, order something. But until then, guys, we out. See you next week.